Hello, everybody. This is Bigfoot Michigan Rob coming from you live. I'm going to state right now that this show, for all you people who are going to listen tomorrow, the next day, or whenever, this is a live show being recorded. This show is going to be about the week's activities on the shows that we had on Brunch with Bigfoot Michigan Rob, on Texas Front Porch, and just the activities and some follow up from some things I was talking about last week. So there's no set pattern. There's no guest. But this is me raw at night. It's 12:30 in the morning on a Sunday. And here's the thing. I feel the need sometimes to tell people that, the name of the show, I think is the Spirit Sunday Spirits in the Afterworld, the Afterlife. And last week I had made mention about a ghost that I've been seeing for some time. And we're going to get into that momentarily. But what I'm going to talk about before I get going, I certainly have to pay some bills. We have 5 shows a week. Monday at 6:30 Central, Texas Front Porch, Tex and Jason McLean. Wednesday, Jason McLean and myself. The show is called Jason McLean Questions Everything. Thursday, 12 noon Central, Brunch with Bigfoot Michigan Rob. And Tex, he joins me. Thursday night, the Serial Papers with Jason McLean. Friday, the talented Jessica Jones Remote Viewing Investigations. Now that that's done, we can be found on. We have a new sponsor. We're on Spotify podcasts and Apple Podcasts, so check that out. And we're soon to be on another radio network very shortly. Tonight, as you're listening, you're laying in bed, you're waking up in the morning. Have you ever had the sense that perhaps you were being watched or felt that you had a need to go out and do something? You know, as happenstance would come, the reason I'm doing what I do today is because I had a traumatic encounter 4 years ago, and it set me on a different path. Over the last 4 years, I've had a chance to evaluate my life and why I do what I do today. And I like to share it with the good people tuning into my channel. When I was about 3 years old, I started seeing ghosts in my bedroom. I'd be laying awake in bed. And of course, as people roll into chat, I ask you to ask questions or participate. Peppa H, how you doing? North Alabama Cryptid, how you doing? This is a random live show talking about encounters and things that I've experienced, and I'm going to recap our shows for the week. But last week, I talked about a ghost that I'd seen in my brother's house. It was a ghost of what I thought was an apparition of my niece, which is manifested today into an adult that I see that I see very frequently. So after evaluating things and looking over facts and matters as a young kid, I remember seeing ghosts. I'd be laying in bed at night and I'd be staring. I had a bunk bed. I slept on the top bunk. My brother was in the lower bunk. And the back wall was painted like a sky blue color. We were maybe 5 or 6 years old. And at nighttime, I would wake up and I would see a ghost on the wall. Now, mind you, everybody listening out there, it wasn't a ghost that looked demonic. It wasn't anything that was ghoulish. It wasn't anything that would make you cry and get out of bed and run into your mother or your father's bedroom looking for comfort. In fact, you guys, when I say this, it was a ghost that looked like, quite frankly, a, a white sheet over a person's head, and it would drape down, and it had shoulders that went out, extended out, and kind of drooped there and hung there. And the eyes were two black circles, deep and dark. Now, when you're listening to this, and as I tell this story, yeah, you know, it reminds me of. It reminds me of like Scooby Doo. Remember the ghost of Scooby Doo that kind of looked like that? It just looked like a white sheet kind of floating about the cartoon. Well, this was a type of ghost that I would see each and every night for years until I got old enough in maybe the fifth grade, the fourth grade, but I would see it night in and night out. I wasn't scared. As I said, I wasn't traumatized, but I always wondered, what is this? What's going on here? The next day, I would talk to my brother about it. I say, hey, bro, you see any strangeness on the walls at night when you go to sleep? No, Rob, not really. I mean, then I ask him, you have any weird dreams or anything? And my brother certainly retorted back that yes, he'd seen certain dreams, but the dreams were just like of driving a race car, hitting a home run at a soccer game, at a baseball game, kicking a goal in a soccer game, which we never played soccer, which is weird. But that's the thing about dreams, right? You dream about things that you normally don't do. I dreamed things about being a boxer that I was going up in a championship game against Muhammad Ali and I lost the match. Well, you know what, you guys, I wasn't into boxing, and how I came up with these dreams were probably manifested from watching a boxing match. But as a kid growing up, I was always into ghosts. I was into occult things. No, I wasn't into the devil. I wasn't into I was not into demonic activity, but I was always into things of high strangeness, things that you would go to school and talk to your playmates or your classmates about. Sure, we all talked about monsters. In fact, growing up as a kid, I would watch Abbott and Costello. Is one of the funny things. Abbott and Costello is a comedic group, a comedy team that my dad brought up my brother and I on, and they were funny. But the one episode that I remember the most was when we were talking about or watching Abbott and Costello meet the werewolf, the mummy, and Frankenstein. So, painting the picture here, I was always into creepy monster movies. And again, that makes me no different than any other 5 or 6 year old. Because let me tell you something, if you're on this channel listening to me, you probably thought the same things that I think about today. And I think about that today, and I thought about that as a kid. So, reverting back to seeing this ghost on the wall as a kid, I always felt differently. I felt that something was speaking to me, right? And time goes on and your dreams get different. Your dreams get different as you get older. Maybe 5 or 6 years later, I lived with my mom and dad till 18 years old. Then I went to college. I left and stayed in a dorm room, had roommates for 4 years. Up until 18, though, I always would see something on the wall. Now, the ghost draped over with the sheet looking ghost, 2 years later, it turned into something that looked like more of like a werewolf. Now, as a kid, I'm thinking I'm seeing these things because these are the shows I'm watching. And I never blew that off as just a kid. You're manifesting the dreams of television shows. And I thought that was normal. I get to college. I'm in my dorm room. I would have a male staying with me as a roommate. We'd have two separate bunks. I'd be looking at the wall and I would see apparitions on the wall. Now, of course, 18, 19 years old at college, you're not going to say to some guy you just met, "Hey, Joey, you see what I saw last night on our wall?" I kept that in because I didn't want to look like a freak. I didn't want to think that I was different. So I would keep that to myself. I go through 4 years of college seeing things on the walls. And my dreams at night will get more lucid. They become more real. In fact, at night sometimes I get up in a cold sweat and wonder what the hell's going on. So now I advance. I graduate from college. I move on. I get a job. I'm about 22 years old. Of course, when you get out of college, you don't have quite enough money to get your own apartment. I wasn't the type of guy to band up with a bunch of guys and party down and split a rental house or an apartment. I went back to my mom and dad's for 2 years until I got a better paying job. So guess where I went back at my mom and dad's? I went back to my old bedroom, single bed now, not the bunk bed with my brother. My brother was off. He was in the Navy doing his thing. So I had a spare room to sit in for about 2 years. I was there for 2 years when I got out of college. So it was funny because the very first night I joked to myself, watch, I'm going to go to bed tonight and I'm going to see the ghost on the wall that I saw as a young child, 5 or 6 years old. And I'm joking. I go to bed about 3 o'clock in the morning. Guess what I see? I see the ghost, the same ghost I saw at 5 or 6, with that stupid sheet over its head, staring directly at me. You know, I'm thinking when I wake up, I'm thinking, did I manifest this thing? I was joking to myself, you guys, at 20, what? Yeah, about 20, 22 years old. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I don't say anything. This goes on for a couple days, but now the ghost on the back wall after several months starts getting more creepy looking. It starts getting more sinister. And I start checking myself like, what type of problem do I have? I almost got to the point, you guys, where I was going to tell my mom and dad I thought I was going crazy. Well, time goes on. I finally got a better job where I moved out of my mom and dad's house. I get married. Me and my wife, we buy a house. We settle down. It's about 20 miles from where my birth home was. We're hanging out in the house. We buy this house, I repaint the house, we get new kitchen cabinets, we lay new carpeting, we gut this place, we make it look fantastic. And I'm there for about a year and a half. One night laying in bed with the wife, I'm looking at the wall, and lo and behold, what comes up on the wall but the ghost. Now I'm in my late 20s, early 30s. It's the ghost. It's not the sinister ghost. It's the ghost with the white sheet over its head with the black eyeballs. I wake up. I wake up my wife. Honey, did you see that? I didn't see anything. This goes on for some time. Then it stops for about a year or two. Long story short, I get a different job. I end up divorcing my wife. We go our own separate ways. I buy my bar. I worked for Ford Motor Company, but I bought a bar. I was buying a bar. She didn't like that because I worked in the bar. I worked 7 days a week, 15 hours a day for 13 years. So I'd be working late at the bar at night, closing up because when I started this bar, I didn't have any people I could trust. So I worked from 10 at night or 10 in the morning till 3 in the morning. I'd be the only one in there. So everything would be cleaned up. And at nighttime, now I would hear rattling of booze bottles. I'm the only one in there, and all of a sudden, I would hear the clinking of glasses, like drink glasses. I would hear like fifths of booze being clanked together, and I would almost hear whiskey or some sort of drink being poured out of a bottle into a glass. And I'm looking around, who's still in here? I would say to myself, I would yell out loud, "Who's still in the bar? Who's in the bar? Is anybody here?" And I know damn well that there's no one in the bar, but I got to the point where I thought there was people that I might have missed, you guys, there was sitting there that just kind of maybe they hung out. They a lot of people will go in a bar and what they'll do is they'll lock they'll get in a stall and they'll get up on a toilet. It's literally they people do this. Trust me, 13 years in the bar business, and they will wait for the bar to empty, and they will come out looking for money, looking for beer, looking for something to take home. It happens. It sounds far fetched, but trust me, I've done it. I've seen it. Not that I've done it. I've seen it been done at my place. Hey, Purple Habit, how you doing? Um, so thanks for joining me. I'm just kind of talking about some my growing up here, ghosts that I've seen and where it's led to me where I am today. And so, and again, anybody that's going to be listening to this on a recording or tomorrow, I'm talking to some people in chat, so it's not just random chatter. I got to put that in there. But so anyway, back to my point is I would hear things, movements around in my bar. It would just I wouldn't see anything though. It was like I just heard people like they were having a good time drinking in the bar. I would hear this and you guys I would hear this. I'd be in my office and I would get out and I'd look down the bar and I can't see anything, but I would hear racket of people having a good time, drinking, socializing. Not a lot of people, a handful, maybe a group of 3 or 4 people, and it really started driving me crazy. And I just I was beside myself, just beside myself. This would go on for weeks, and I would just leave. I would go home. I would look around, but the funny thing is, I'd lock up the bar, but I was always paranoid that somebody was in there because I always felt the presence of somebody in the bar. And yes, I would hear this activity going on, looking into the bar, but not seeing it, but I could hear it. I could hear it, but not see it. This went on for several months. Then one night, I spend the night at my bar for whatever. I was working late. I didn't want to drive home. I slept in my office and I hear the partying going on. I hear the drinking. I hear the racket. I hear voices. You can't make out what they're saying, but they're talking, kibitzing amongst each other. I hear the clinking of glasses. I hear drinks being poured into a glass. And now in my mind, you guys, I'm thinking, man, I'm going to go join this party. I was in some state where I wasn't scared. I was kind of jealous that these people were having a good time. So I get up out of my office. I'm like, hey, if you guys are ghosts or if you're some apparition, don't go nowhere. I'm coming to join you. I get out. Now, as I said before, when I got out of my office, I would still hear the clinking, the clattering, and the chatter, but I couldn't see anything. When I had told and spoke out loud, I'm coming out to join you guys. I come out, I look at the bar, and here's what I see. I see three apparitions. It's a square bar. Okay. At the very end of the bar, there's two apparitions. I mean, they're humanoid looking people. Two were men, but you could see through them. And they both looked like they were dressed from like the 50s or even older. You guys remember back John Dillinger when they had the hats, they had the suits. You know how they used to dress up. Every guy wore a suit. Every woman wore a dress. Well, there was two guys, hats on, suits on, and the other side was two women. Again, they were people, apparitions, but I could see through them. They weren't solid, but I could see them. I could see right through them to the other side and see the opposite wall. And here's the other thing. In front of the four ghosts, the two men, I remember this distinctly. You guys, there was a bottle of Jack Daniels whiskey on the bar, which I knew I put away. The cork or the lid was off of it. Two shot glasses, you guys, two shot glasses sitting in front of the two apparitions. Had a shot in each glass, half drank. The two women, they both had like champagne glasses. Now, if you recall, back in the day, women didn't drink out of glasses. They had the tall, frilly, cute looking drink glasses, which I had as champagne glasses because we did serve champagne and wine at my bar. They had them there. There was an uncorked bottle of wine. One of the glasses was empty, but there was remnants of wine in it, and the other drink glass was half full. And I'm staring at this for the longest time. The four of them are going about themselves, talking, kibitzing, almost like not even knowing I'm there as I'm saying, hello, hello. Are you the spirits that's been haunting my bar? Are you the spirits been haunting me since I was a child, perhaps? Is this finally coming to fruition? They ignore me. They act like I'm not there, like I'm a ghost, right? I'm looking at four ghosts, four drinks, an open bottle of Jack Daniels, an open bottle of wine. People look like they're dressed in the 40s or the 50s, as I mentioned, and I'm trying to get their attention, and they're not even paying any attention or mind to me. So finally, I move. I said, well, hell with this. You guys, now I'm not scared, you guys. For whatever reason, I was like, kind of irritated that they were blowing me off. The average guy probably would have ran out the front door yelling and screaming, but I was there to observe what was going on. I don't know, maybe it was the years of seeing ghosts throughout my life that finally I was to the point where I finally get to see one awake in the physical state in a physical state. So I saunter over toward these four apparitions. I'm like, "Hey, I'm the owner of the bar. My name is Rob. I'm glad to see you guys are taking care of yourselves, having a drink." And then I take my fist and I slam it down on a bar, not 4 feet from the closest apparition. Now you remember, they're at the corner of the bar. It's a square bar. There's the two men on one side, two women. So they're in like a lazy L. And I'm 4 feet. And I take my fist, I hit it. I said, "Hey, I want a drink out of my own bar." I go to grab the Jack Daniels whiskey bottle and join these guys. I want to sit down and hang out with some ghosts. I kind of want to find out what's going on. I grab the bottle, not a foot from the guy closest to me. I say guy, the ghost, the apparition, the entity. I grab the bottle, I pour a shot. Sure as shit, it's not a it's a physical bottle. The thing that screwed me up when I pour that shot and I pick it up and I look at these four entities, they finally paid attention to me. They finally acknowledged that I was there. They all, in unison, took their heads and they slowly turned their heads, looking directly at me. I'm looking at their clothes. Their clothes was pristine. Their faces I could see, like watching a movie. Only thing I could see through them. They all give me a smile. The two gentlemen smile at me. The two women smile at me. The two ladies were pretty. The other man, hey, average looking dudes. And the one guy tips his hat, goes down with his ghostly hand and picks up his glass. His glass now, you guys, the physical glass is now lifting from the top of the bar up, kind of suspended in the air, connected to a ghostly hand. But it'll look like, I mean, you can see through the figure, but this glass is like up in the air with nothing other than a ghostly hand, which you could see through. So there's no way in the world this thing could have been picked up other than by a ghost, which it was. They look at me, I lift my glass, they pick up their glasses, and I go towards them to clink the glasses together. Then all of a sudden, the two dudes, the two guy ghosts, they smile. Then all of a sudden, and the one ghost had the shot glass in the air. All of a sudden, the two men, their ghost-like apparition bodies, starts to turn gray, kind of starts to fall apart. They both turned into like skeletons and crumbled into dust. The two women looked where the men were. They looked at me, gave me a smile. That smile turned to a grim smile as their skeletal figure looked at me and slowly faded away. Now, I should make mention of this. The ghost that had the shot glass up in the air, well, when he had it in the air through his entity hand, the ghost hand, which you couldn't figure out how in the hell it was suspended in air, when he started to crumble, the glass just fell, hit the bar top, and smashed and broke. That, my friends, was one hell of an encounter, one hell of an experience. I see North Alabama says I enter their dimension. Eric, yep, time slip. Strangely, maybe I was reliving a ghost life in those days, or certainly they were from another time zone. They were definitely from a different time zone. And the thing about all this is like I've been seeing things like this my whole life from a kid. And now today, like I say, I see things even like I was telling the ghost story. I still see, like I told you guys, maybe you guys didn't hear my story. It's on one of my last videos where my niece had a ghost. I'm this is a 20-minute story. I'm not gonna get into that. You guys can go check it out. But bottom line is this my niece was about 5 or 6 years old. And I always saw her little, I thought it was her visiting me, but it was an apparition of an Indian girl because my brother bought property, didn't know about it, and had a house built on the Indian reservation. Back 200 years ago, though, there was a slaughter, a massacre where the white man killed all these Indians, and it ended up becoming an Indian burial ground. So the ghost that would always visit my niece would appear to her and tell her that she was slaughtered by the white man, and she never liked her parents, which were my brother and my sister-in-law, because adults were bad. So, but now when I would spend the night at my brother's, this little apparition would always open my door and peer in, and I always thought it was my niece. Then we found out, again, not getting into this story, we found out that this was a ghost visiting my niece. They would pay visits to everybody that came and spent the night at the house. So this went on for quite some time. Couple weeks ago, you guys, that ghost paid me a visit again, but in adult form. My bedroom, few days back, the door was shut, my door open. I get out of my bed and I look out and there's nobody around. I shut the door. Typically though, you guys, I sleep with my door open. And I'm single. My girlfriend, as I said, I don't have no chick or girl staying with me now. So I live by myself. But the door would open. So I sleep with the doors open. For some reason that night the door was shut, it opened. I'm like, wow, that's kind of weird. So I kind of shut the door again. And I don't even know why I'm shutting the door. As I said, it's not my natural or it's not in my nature to do that. But for whatever, my brain told me to shut the door. I shut this door again and it opens again. But standing there this time, nothing ran away. It was the same little girl that I saw about 10 years ago. Now, it was her identically, but she was about 4 or 5 foot taller and looked like a grown adult. And I said, "Hey, I know you, right?" And she just kind of dissipated, right? I'll get stuff that comes in my basement that circles around my chair. I've seen all sorts of things. But then, as you guys know, I had a Bigfoot encounter that scared the living bejesus. That's why I don't, my girlfriend died, right? So that's why I haven't really gotten a steady chick since she passed away 4 years ago. And I was talking to Robin McCrae, and now this Bigfoot entity has been trying to contact me, I guess, through MindSpeak. And I was talking to Robin, and she told me that yeah, you're not letting it in. It wants to talk to you. Well, you guys, I don't want to talk to this goddamn thing. I'm having a hard enough time seeing ghosts throughout my whole life. You think I'm going to talk to a goddamn Bigfoot? Not that they're scared, but you know what? So this is where this is my life. This is why I do what I do, man. Because I think it's my calling, but what is it? What am I supposed to do? But I will say this. I'm not scared, but I don't have any answers to a lot of these things. Some of these things I do have answers to. I was gonna get and talk about, contracts after you die, right? We had, Ann Celine on Brunch with Bigfoot Michigan Rob the other day, and at the end of the show, we started talking about spiritual contracts that, you make. In fact, there's a contract where you can when you're ready to pass on, you speak with somebody, and you can make a contract to come back in another life as in another life form, and I was wondering about that. What if you're like, what does that mean? You can come back and say, "Hey, I wanna be a doctor or a lawyer." Now, what if you're a bad person? What if you're like a criminal, right? Some criminal, yeah, you're not gonna come back as that. You're gonna probably come back as a rock, a or an ant or something like that. So, I wanted to get into that tonight, man, but I got off track talking about this ghost stuff with you guys. And, yeah, I just want you guys to know when you guys go to sleep at night, think about Bigfoot Rob because I ain't fucking sleeping. I'm sitting there wondering about what I'm going to see next, but I'm not complaining about it. I'm just giving you a little personal insight of how my days go and why I do what I do, man. And Strangeland, Eric, North, Danny, Peppa, for all you guys hanging out in chat tonight, I appreciate it. For all you people that are going to listen to this, I'm kind of all over talking with people in chat, all my buddies here in chat. And as you guys know, we're back next week with 5 shows next week. I got a Bigfoot investigator on Thursday with Brunch with Bigfoot. Tex and Jason got a cool show. We've got David H. Altman on Monday. He was in the movie A Tear from the Sky. I booked him for that show, so that's going to be cool. Talk about extraterrestrial life. Wednesday, I have a Bigfoot researcher on. Jessica Jones will be doing her thing Friday night, and me and Jason will be talking Thursday on Jason McLean Questions Everything. So check us out. Share out the information. I'm glad you guys stayed up late with me tonight. For me, it's 1:07 in the morning. I don't go to bed till 5 in the morning. I could talk all night, but my mouth's getting dry. I hope you guys enjoyed my ghost stories, which really aren't stories. It's actually occurrences that happen to me. Share it out, tell a friend, tell a neighbor, or just keep it to yourself. But thank you. I appreciate you guys. Love you guys in chat. You have a great night. And I'll probably, well, you guys see me almost every day, and I'll talk to you guys. I'll probably see you guys Monday or so. Have a great day. Thank you. Peace.